गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Landaneshwar Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. It's always a pleasure to be in the home of Ramcharan Prabhu, Bhagavati Mataji, Vrinda Sundari, and of course Ghanesham Priya, although now he is in Los Angeles. He has now become an international celebrity.
I'll just send your pictures right now to him.
So tell him I'm remembering him. And it's a pleasure to be amongst all of you this evening. So Vrinda Sundari has given me the topic for the day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. It's a vast topic, but I can try to speak about the main thrust of his teachings, the essential points that Mahaprabhu spoke about. Largely, that can be encapsulated in one verse. And I'm sure many of you have heard of it. It starts with Aradhyo Bhagavan. For how many of you is that familiar? Yes, for few devotees. Okay, so let me recite that and then we'll discuss it briefly. Because this is the main contribution of Mahaprabhu. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadho Vargenaya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatradara Na Paraha. So this is a verse that has been composed by a devotee called Srinath Acharya, who was a disciple of Advaita Acharya. And the main points of this verse are as follows. He says, Aradhya Bhagavan. First of all, he defines who our worshipable Lord is. Aradhya means worshipable. By the way, this is the word from which Radha comes, the word Radha. The word Radha comes from Aradhya. She who is worshipable, or she who is the greatest worshipper of Krishna. Anaya Aradhito Nunam Bhagavan Haririshwara, etc. There's a nice verse, but that's another topic. So Aradhita, by whom Krishna is worshipped in the most exalted way, that is Radharani. So the topmost worshipper of Krishna is Radha. Right? So the word Aradhana is, it means worship. So Aradhya means one who is worshipable. So who is our most worshipable Lord? There are many lords we can worship. There are many lords. In England especially, there are so many lords, yes? The Queen gives them a title, this lord, that lord. In the court of law, you have to address the judge as my lord, yes? But we are talking about the real Lord. Who is the real Lord? So the real Lord is Krishna. But which Krishna is it? Is he the Krishna who lives in Vaikuntha as Narayan? Is he the Krishna who appears as Lord Narasimhadev? Or who comes in Ayodhya as Ram? Or who sometimes appears in the fish incarnation or the boar incarnation? Yes, he is indeed the Supreme Lord. In all of these forms we see it is that one Supreme Lord who appears. And yet, even though we worship all these forms of the Lord, we understand them to be non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We hear about them, we glorify them, we remember them. Nevertheless, there is something very special about He who is the source of all of them. Ete chamsikalapunsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is declared that Krishna is the one who is the source of all other forms of Godhead. All the other incarnations, the four-handed forms of Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, including the Mahavishnu form, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, who is present as a super soul in everybody's heart, is also present in every atom. So this one personality, Sri Krishna, is the origin of all of these other forms of Godhead. They're also Godhead, yes, but He is the origin, the original candle who lights up all the other candles. So Aradhya Bhagavan is Krishna. But which Krishna? Not the Krishna of Vaikuntha, although He is the Lord, but our specific Lord, our greatest worship is meant for Him who is Vrajesha Tanaya. Vraja is Vrindavan. Isha means the Lord. So who is the king or the Lord of Vrindavan? Nanda Maharaj. Tanaya means the son. So who is the son of the king of Vraja? That's Krishna. So our worshipable Lord is Krishna, who is the son of Nanda Maharaj. And in case there's any doubt left as to which particular form or expansion or incarnation of Krishna is being spoken about, so Srinath Acharya settles it all. Tad Dhama Vrindavanam. So he says his abode is Vrindavan. So our most worshipable form of the Lord is the Krishna who is the son of Nanda Maharaj, who resides in Vrindavan. Not even Mathura, not even Dwaraka, not Kurukshetra, not any other place. Although all these are of course revered forms of the Lord, but our specific worship is for this Krishna who is in Vrindavan, the son of Nanda Maharaj. So, Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanaya Stadham Vrindavanam. And in Vrindavan, who are the topmost worshippers of Krishna? Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. Vrajavadhu Varga. So the milkmaids of Vrindavan, the gopis of Vrindavan, they are the topmost worshippers of Krishna. The standard they set of devotional service to Krishna is one without a second, unique, unparalleled. There is nothing like it in the entire spiritual or material creation. No one can be a devotee like the gopis of Vrindavan. So Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. Then how do we know all this? What is the source of our information? The information is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam. So the Pramana or the evidence is Srimad Bhagavatam. So we understand all this from Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore we revere the Srimad Bhagavatam also as being non-different from Krishna. It is a literary incarnation of Krishna. And what is the goal of life for all of us as human beings? Prema, Pumartho Mahan. Mahan means great or the greatest. Pum refers to Punsa or the human beings. Artha means the benefit or the goal. So what is the highest benefit or the goal for all of humanity? Prema. Prema to this one Supreme Lord, the Lord of Vrindavan, the son of Nanda Maharaj, and especially in the mood of the gopis, following in the footsteps of the gopis. Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan. So this is the spotless Purana, the spotless evidence for all of us. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam. This is the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tatradarahna Parahai. And I have greatest respect for it. So what is the opinion of Mahaprabhu? Number one. What is the first thing? Our worshipable Lord is who? Krishna. Which Krishna? The son of Nanda Maharaj, who resides in where? Harrow or? In Vrindavan. And who are the best devotees of Krishna? The gopis of Vrindavan. And what is the evidence for all this? The Srimad Bhagavatam. And what is our goal of life as devotees, as human beings rather? To develop prema, that love for Godhead, the love for Krishna, especially the kind of love that who developed? The gopis developed. And whose opinion is this? It is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's opinion, for which we have the highest regard. For us, Mahaprabhu's opinion is the absolute truth. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Krishna of Vrindavan. He is the same Krishna who appears to taste the love of Vrindavan and to spread it everywhere. So the same Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he wants to relish it. He wants to relish what the devotees of Vrindavan are feeling, the ecstasy and the happiness that they experience when they love Krishna. You know, it is more enjoyable to serve than to be served. So the residents of Vrindavan experience a higher grade of bliss, transcendental bliss, than does Krishna himself. So Krishna really wants to know, what is it about serving me that gives these devotees so much bliss that even I can't experience? So I want to experience this. So then Krishna says, let me take the form of my devotee. And which devotee? The topmost devotee. So who is the topmost devotee? Srimati Radharani. So that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He comes in the form of his topmost devotee, or the mood of his topmost devotee. Radha Bhava Dyuti Subalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. He comes with the bhava or the mood of Srimati Radharani, but he is Krishna Swarupa, he is directly Krishna. The mood on the complexion of Radharani. So he is a golden Krishna. He is a golden complexioned Krishna. Normally Krishna is dark, but this Krishna is golden complexioned, and he is in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So he has come here to relish in the mood of the devotees of Vrindavan that ecstasy of love towards Sri Krishna. And he also wants to spread it everywhere in the world, regardless of qualification or disqualification of people. And he wants to do that through the congregational chanting of the holy names, especially the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So these are the essential points of Mahaprabhu's teachings. So if you've understood this much, you have understood the core teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's the end of the lecture, yes? So this is the core, that's the main teaching. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took pains to emphasize this amongst his devotees, amongst those who eventually became his devotees, who were not formally his devotees. Even great personalities, great scholars like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, whose scholarship was astounding. But they were Mayavadis. Mayavadis means that they had an impersonalistic conception of the absolute truth, and they would think that the forms that the Lord takes when he descends into on this earth in incarnations, they are material forms. And the original absolute truth is formless spiritual light. And we are actually the absolute truth ourselves, and we must merge into that absolute truth. So this was the kind of philosophical idea that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had. But at the end of it, he became such an exemplary and exalted devotee that even Mahaprabhu was struck with wonder. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphasized not only the worship of Krishna, but to understand that this Krishna is the Supreme Person. There are many Mayavadis who may also worship Krishna, but their understanding of Krishna is that actually he is the material manifestation of this formless spiritual light. And Mahaprabhu used to get very upset when he heard such things. So he wanted the process of devotional service of bhakti to be understood as being paramount, the supreme process of understanding of the absolute truth. Nothing higher than bhakti. If you want to understand the absolute truth, you must become a devotee of Krishna. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that if you want to know me as I am, then bhakti is the only way, devotion to me is the only way. Then you will know me standing as I am, standing in front of you. For one who actually understands Krishna like this, then he or she enters into his eternal abode, the spiritual abode. Now those who are Mayavadis, they conflict with Mahaprabhu's teachings in two ways. One, they do not accept Krishna's supreme personality. They don't think that Krishna is the origin of everything and that he's ultimately the supreme person, number one. And number two, they don't believe that the process of loving him is the ultimate process for spiritual perfection. So when Mahaprabhu used to hear of these examples of people who were following the Jnana Yoga, the path of Mayavad, etc., he would very strongly refute it. And that is what he did with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, with Prakash Ananda Saraswati in Varanasi. And those Mayavadi sannyasis were for real, serious. They were great scholars, very austere people. And when they would walk into a room, there was total silence. They would come in grave as anything. Om Shanti, Shanti. They would be like that, walking slowly, sitting quietly, in tune with the Brahman. And when Mahaprabhu went there, he completely melted their hearts. Because he went there and he sat in a very lowly place, in the place where people used to wash their feet before they entered that room. And Prakash Ananda Saraswati had a negative opinion about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he would air his opinion publicly. And he would say, this Sri Krishna Chaitanya, he's been initiated in the Bharati Sampradaya, which is our Shankara Mayavadi Sampradaya, but he dances and chants in the streets with the ordinary folk like a sentimentalist. A sannyasi is supposed to do austerity, he's supposed to study the Vedanta Sutra, and here he is, instead of studying Vedanta and discussing philosophy with us, he's just simply chanting and dancing in the streets. This doesn't sound to be appropriate for a sannyasi. So Mahaprabhu's devotees in Varanasi, which is the headquarters of the Mayavadis, they were very upset and saddened to hear this kind of criticism. And there was one Brahman in particular who was very eager that Prakashananda Saraswati should have the audience of Mahaprabhu. And he succeeded eventually. And then Mahaprabhu won them over by his transcendental devotional qualities. And they became his followers. There was a lot of philosophical discussion. Mahaprabhu explained things to them. And then they all understood. So the entirety of all his followers, they all became devotees of Krishna and followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there were many, many such instances. These people got transformed and became devotees of Krishna from Mayavadis. But if there was anyone amongst his devotees or who proclaimed himself as a follower of Mahaprabhu, but who indicated any such tendency, then he would get very upset. One time, Mahaprabhu did what is called the Mahaprakash Leela. This Mahaprakash Leela was a very special occasion when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually publicly accepted and proclaimed his godhood. In this special form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord would always hide his godhood. Whenever anyone would say that you are the Supreme Lord, he would close his ears and say, Vishnu, Vishnu, I am not the Lord, I am not the Lord. It is a great offense against the Lord to proclaim an ordinary living entity to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he would close his ears and say, Vishnu, 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 what are you saying? But there were some occasions when he, in his intimate circle of associates, he accepted that. And he also accepted the worship as the Supreme Lord. So this is called the Sat Prahariya Bhava. One Prahar is 3 hours. Sat means 7. So 7 times 3, 21 hours. So this pastime went on for 21 consecutive hours. And Mahaprabhu sat on the throne of Vishnu. And he blessed all his devotees. One by one they would all come up to him and offer their obeisances to him and offer prayers to him. And then after glorifying him, they would all ask for a benediction, because this is what Mahaprabhu said. When you come in front of me, I want you all to ask me for whatever you want in your life. Whatever it is, I will fulfill your desires, because you are my dear devotees. So I will fulfill your desires. So one by one the devotees started coming up, and they all had their desires. None of them had any material desires, of course. So they had various types of spiritual desires to fulfill. And there were even some who came and said, please make my son a devotee. Someone said, please make my such and such relative a devotee. And Mahaprabhu said, granted, granted, granted. And he was in such a magnanimous mood. He was fulfilling the desires of all his devotees. So he was calling out the names of the devotees one by one. But he did not call out the name of one devotee. What was his name? What was the name of this one devotee who he didn't call out? Mukunda. Mukunda was the one who was a very good singer. His singing was so sweet that all the devotees would get lost. And they would be absorbed in the chanting. And he was also a very humble, sincere soul. So then someone went and asked, so he was quite dejected when his name was not called out. Everyone else was called and his name wasn't called. So he became a little morose. And then Srivas Thakur saw that and he felt sorry for him, and he went up and made his case to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very tentatively and hesitatingly suggested, my dear Lord, you've called everybody, but you have not called Mukunda. Mukunda, don't mention his name in my presence. I said, why? What has Mukunda done? Oh, he is a traitor. He has beaten me on my back. He has beaten me with an iron rod. Srivas Thakur said, Mukunda can never do such a thing. He is such a gentle soul, my Lord. How do you say this? Mukunda never does anything like this. He is such a sincere devotee. And Mahaprabhu wouldn't have anything to do with Srivas Thakur's pleas. And then he said, you don't know. He comes here in our presence, and when we say you should become a devotee of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he says yes, yes, yes. And then when there's another gathering of people in some other place where they talk from Yoga Vasishtha, which is an impersonalistic text, or he sits in other gatherings where they propound Mayavad doctrine, he says yes, yes, yes. So whichever kind of association he goes to, he says yes, yes, yes. So he goes with them. So he also associates with and hears and agrees with people who talk of conclusions that are contrary to the principle of devotional service to bhakti. And denying the process of bhakti means denying the supremacy or the personality of Godhead, of Krishna. And anyone who decries bhakti or the personality of God effectively beats me with a stick, with an iron rod. So everyone was struck with wonder to hear. And actually Mukunda used to do this much before. Sometimes he would go, but Mahaprabhu wanted to set a very strong example. And then they came back and told Mukunda, actually Mahaprabhu said that I will not call him in front of me. So then they went back, they were very sorry, all the devotees said, Mukunda, look, this is what the Lord is saying. He says, please ask him, please ask him. I'm willing to wait. When will he give me darshan? So the Lord was in an angry mood when Srivas Thakur came once more, a little fearfully, and he submitted his plea and says, my dear Lord, please tell me, you're upset with him now, but he's been a sincere devotee for so many years. Please tell us, when will you give him your darshan? I will not give him darshan for at least 10 million births. So they went back, and he actually heard this, Mukunda heard this, he was behind. Then he started jumping and dancing, and he says, only 10 million births, only 10 million births. So everyone thought he's crazy. What's wrong with you? What has gone wrong with you? He says, what's 10 million births? at least I'm assured that I will get Mahaprabhu's darshan after 10 million births. Only 10 million births. I've been in this material world for so many trillions and trillions of creations. And if Mahaprabhu is going to give me darshan after 10 million births, which he has promised now, he said I will give him darshan after 10 million births, so at least his darshan is ensured. So my life is successful. And he began to dance in joy. And then Mahaprabhu's heart melted, and he called Mukunda and embraced him and showered his mercy upon him. So from this little pastime, of course there are some other conversations that happen afterwards also. But the lesson to learn from here is that Mahaprabhu did not approve of any process other than the process of bhakti, pure devotional service. Many people may say that they do devotional service, but actually, in the name of bhakti, they follow the Mayavad process. They also say, we are devotees of Krishna, but in the end, their goal is to become one with Krishna, to merge into Krishna, to extinguish their individuality by merging the soul into Krishna's body or into Krishna's spiritual effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti. And this was what Mahaprabhu was very strongly opposed to. And also did not like the idea of devotees going to different places and hearing different things, different philosophical lectures. They come to the devotees, hear something, go somewhere else, hear something else, go to yet another place and hear yet something else. In this connection, I'm reminded of a story that Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur narrated. He has this collection of stories called Upakhyane Upadesh. Have you heard of this? Many, many nice stories. Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur would devise many such stories with instructive conclusions or lessons. So once upon a time, there was this landlord who had an employee. The landlord was very rich. And this was a new employee, and he had just got the job and he wanted to stay on with the job at any cost. So one day the landlord was talking with the employee, and all of a sudden the topic shifted to food. He says, you know, the potato is such a delicious vegetable. So what do you think? He asked. So the employee made some uneasy gestures and didn't know what to say, because he wanted to know what would be the landlord's opinion about the potato. So he said, so my dear Lord, please tell me, what is your opinion about the potato? Ah, the potato, such a delicious vegetable. That was enough. Even before the landlord could complete the sentence, the employee launched into a great glorification of the potato. And he said, this potato is the king of all vegetables. In any form, whether you boil it in water, boil it in rice, you take it fried, you have it in the kofta, you make it in any form, in dal or anywhere else, the potato is the most glorious of all vegetables. And nothing as delicious as the potato. And he went on and on speaking about the potato. And then the landlord said, yeah, but it's a little dull and passionate as a vegetable. And that was enough for the employee. So he launched into a vehement criticism of the potato. He said, yes, this potato, it is a root cause of all diseases that we know today. From diarrhea to diabetes to cholera to everything, all are caused because of this potato. And it has so many bad qualities. And then he went on and on speaking about the bad qualities of the potato. So the landlord said, all right, never mind this potato. What do you think about the brinjal, the eggplant? So again, with uneasy gestures, the employee said, my dear Lord, please tell me your opinion of the brinjal. I think it's a nice vegetable. I think that was enough. So the employee began, this brinjal, it can save the prestige of even a poor householder. Even if a householder is very poor, but he just has 2 little bits of brinjal, of eggplant, that can save his prestige. Whether you boil it, whether you roast it, whether you fry it, it's more delicious than butter. And then he went on glorifying the eggplant. But then the landlord interrupted and said, but it's a very agitating kind of plant. For the vegetable, it's agitating to the consciousness. That was enough for the employee. He said, oh yes, there's nothing more agitating than the brinjal or the eggplant. It is so agitating, it agitates the consciousness, it even itches inside the mouth when you eat it, and it has no good qualities. That is why it's called begun. Begun means begun, without any good, without any qualities. And he went on criticizing the eggplant. Finally, in exasperation, the landlord asked him, do you have no integrity? When I say something's nice, you say, yes, it's nice. You glorify it like there was nothing nicer than this. When I say it's bad, then you say it's the worst thing. There's nothing as bad as this. You're just rowing with the wind. So the employee folded his hands in front of the landlord and said, my dear Lord, I am neither an employee of the potato nor of the eggplant. My livelihood depends on you. So because I want to please you, therefore it doesn't matter whether it's the eggplant or the potato. Whatever is your opinion is my opinion. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said the moral of the story is we should not become like this employee in the sense that we go to some different association of people who are speaking some philosophical point or some spiritual discussion going on there, and we say yes to what they say. We go to devotees, we come to the devotees of Lord Krishna, we say yes, that's also nice. We go somewhere else and say yes, rowing with the wind. Wherever we go, we say yes, this is right. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very keen that we should not be like that, and that we should be very clear-headed and have strong conviction about spiritual conclusions. Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam. Should be very clear about this. Ramya Kachit Upasana Brajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. We should be very clear about this. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. Srimad Bhagavata is the topmost evidence. We should be clear about it. Prema Pumartho Mahan. That prema bhakti, pure love for Godhead, for Lord Krishna of Vrindavan, is the ultimate goal of life, the greatest benefit for all humanity. We should be clear about that. The chanting of the holy names of Krishna in the mood of eternal servitude to Krishna and his associates, we should be very clear about that. We are never the Supreme Lord. We can never merge into Him. The principle that we are eternally servants of Krishna is very, very important. So therefore, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. We are always eternally servants of the Supreme Lord. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's essential teachings are, as explained in this Aradhya Bhagavan verse. And also, of course, about the Nama Sankirtan process. Mahaprabhu traveled far and wide. He made everybody devotees. Wherever he traveled, people heard the sound of the holy name and they became devotees. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes that when Mahaprabhu went there to South India on his pilgrimage, after taking sannyas, as he was walking along, he was constantly chanting, singing, dancing, and everyone who saw him was struck with wonder. And just by hearing his chanting and by seeing his beautiful transcendental form, they would all become devotees. And when they went away intoxicated in love of Godhead, they were speaking like some mad person. because they were only chanting Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. This was the effect of seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his transcendental ecstasy. So just by seeing him like that, they also became quote unquote infected. Srila Prabhupada says that devotional service is also a matter of infection, but in a good sense. The word infection is normally used in a negative sense when we speak about a disease. But here is a disease we would all like to have. When Nimai Pandit, as he was known before he took sannyas, he went to Gaya purportedly for the Shraddha ceremony of his father. It was at that point that he took initiation from Ishwar Puri, and he came back a completely transformed person. He was constantly chanting the name of Krishna, and he was so absorbed in the trance of ecstatic devotion to Krishna that he would lose sense of the external world. And he would sometimes jump and dance, and he would fall to the ground. And everybody in Navadvip, or at least many people in Navadvip, thought that he had gone mad. And they were saying, they called some Ayurvedic doctor because maybe it's some derangement of the vata, in the brain. Something's happened, which is why he's behaving in such a strange way. And Sachi Mata, that is Nimai Pandit's mother, was also in immense anxiety. And one day Srivas Thakur came to their home, and he saw Nimai Pandit in his trance of devotion, and Sachi Mata pleaded with him, see, everybody is saying that his vata is deranged, that he's gone mad. Please do something about it. Can you help me, please? So Srivas Thakur took one look at Mahaprabhu, and because he himself is an eternal associate of the Lord, and he is a pure devotee, and it takes one to know one, he immediately understood that this is not some material madness or an aggravation of the vata. He said, oh, my dear Sachimata, this is a kind of madness I aspire to have. I wish I could also become mad like this. You are very fortunate because your son has got this transcendental madness. He has attained the perfection of his life. And if we also get that, we will also attain the perfection of our life. And then Sachimata was consoled, she was pacified. So when Mahaprabhu went to the south, he was like that. He was in that mood of ecstatic devotion, and the people who saw him, they also became like that. And when they went back to their villages, the people who saw them in that village, they also became like that person. They all became devotees in ecstatic trance. And if there was a visitor visiting from another village to that village, and he would see these devotees, and he would go back to his village, and all the people in his village would also become like that. So in this way, it spread like wildfire. And everywhere there were these pure devotees of Krishna in ecstatic trance, chanting the holy names. So Mahaprabhu, he came here to also inaugurate the Yuga Dharma, the Yuga Dharma of the chanting, congregational chanting of the holy names, as a means to attain that prema pumartho mahan. The ultimate love of Godhead can be achieved simply by chanting the holy names of Lord Krishna. So in a sense, this is probably the most important teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And all we have to do is to come together and chant the names of Krishna, Krishna of Vrindavan, and we can attain pure love of God. We can attain the ultimate destination of our life. So this is in capsule the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are many, many other things he has taught. Those of you who are interested, you can read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. You can also read the condensed version, which is called Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, also written by Srila Prabhupada. And you'll see the detailed teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions?
So, I have one question.
Yes.
You said at certain point that one of the devotees he turned into to see how the devotees they enjoy the bliss. So he himself became a devotee. So what did he experience? We didn't touch that a little on that.
I was speaking about Krishna himself.
Yeah, Krishna himself.
Krishna himself
Yeah,
is worshipped in Vrindavan
but he
by the gopis, by the cowherd boys, and so on. He feels great happiness by being with his devotees, but he also understands that his devotees in Vrindavan, especially the gopis of Vrindavan, experience more spiritual bliss than even he does. So he wants to know, how is that possible? Why is that happening? Why is it that my devotees who serve me and love me experience greater happiness than I do? So he wants to solve this mystery.
yes.
So therefore he says, I will take birth, I will appear in the guise of my devotee, with the mood and the complexion of my greatest devotee. Who is Krishna's greatest devotee? Srimati Radharani. And therefore, he, through the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga, which is the chanting of the names of Krishna, specifically the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he spreads this congregational chanting everywhere, so that anyone and everyone who starts chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra will also develop that love for Krishna, following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the self-same Krishna who has descended into this world to give us an opportunity to also follow in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan and to become devotees like them.
Very good.
Okay? Yes.
And he said that if we take one step towards Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards us. We know that he's our ultimate father. But how does he see each one of us? What is he seeing in us, each one of us? And also what does he see in the atheists? What does he see in the non-believers? Or what does he see in the Mayavadis? So how is he seeing? What is his vision about us?
What is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's vision about us? Yes? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at one level doesn't make any distinction. When he goes out and spreads the chanting of the holy names, there he doesn't see who is who. He gives this love of Godhead to anyone and everyone. Whoever is fortunate enough to come in his path gets this special mercy. So this is the principle of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, to unrestrictedly distribute this mercy everywhere. So therefore, following in Mahaprabhu's footsteps, the devotees in this movement, as instructed by Srila Prabhupada, they go out into the streets and chant Sankirtan. They chant the holy names, and so many people hear that, and they become attracted by that. Or even if they're not immediately attracted, at least they hear the names. Others go out and they do another kind of Sankirtan, which is the books, which is also the glorification of Krishna. They distribute that. And we distribute it randomly to one and all. So this is the same mood, that we don't make a distinction when we go out to preach. In that sense, the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is even more merciful than Krishna himself, although he is also Krishna. Because Krishna gives conditions, sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Yes? That you must surrender to me and then I will relieve you of sinful reactions. But Mahaprabhu doesn't make such a condition. He gives Krishna prem to one and all without any reservation or distinction. And the only thing that he wants is for his devotees to understand. Because he doesn't want this Sankirtan movement to be just another sentimental movement where people will do anything and everything, whatever they like, whimsically. He wants it to be situated on a sound, scriptural and philosophical platform. That is why he got into all these discussions and debates, etc., about the ultimate philosophical understanding of the absolute truth. That is why he pointed these things out about Mukunda. That is why he got into these debates with Prakash Ananda Saraswati and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, etc. Because for the sake of posterity, he wanted to emphasize that yes, chanting the holy names is good, but you must do it with a proper conception of Krishna. You must do it with the proper consciousness of Krishna. So along with the congregational chanting of the holy names, there is also a need for reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, reading the Bhagavad Gita, so that we get these two, the clear conception, the clear consciousness with which to chant the holy names. So Mahaprabhu's view about all of us is that we are candidates for his movement. Everyone is a potential candidate on the street. So we go out and try to spread this message everywhere. And another teaching of his to the Kurma Brahman, Jare Dakho Tare Kaho Krishna Upadesh Amar Agyai Guru Hana Tara Edesh. Whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna and Krishna's message. So instead of first thing meeting somebody and talking about the results of the football match, you talk about Krishna. Yes? You know something, what happened in the match today? Okay. Instead of saying that, you know something, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita like this, and this.
That's beautiful explanation about Mahaprabhu. I was more referring to Krishna as Bhagwan or Paramatma. What does he see in us? Like in Paramatma, he is like two words sitting and watching the soul, not sanctioning but approving it and giving us the freedom. So what he's sitting there and he's seeing all these souls who are conditioned and who are either following path of bhakti or who are atheists. What is he seeing in us and what does he expect of us?
Okay, your question then is specifically about Krishna, especially as the Lord in the heart. How does he see all of us? Some are devotees, some are non-devotees, some are atheists, some are this, some are that. So how does he see all of us? He sees us with extraordinarily immense love and compassion. And his only concern is how will this living entity come back to me in the spiritual world. This living entity has forgotten me and now is struggling against the stringent laws of material nature in the material world, trying in vain to enjoy life here. But that is never possible. So therefore, I am always giving him or her good guidance, but he or she is not accepting. But nevertheless, I will continue to try. I will continue to be the ever well-wisher of this living entity. So Krishna goes on, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. For millions of lives, for whatever duration of time that any given soul is within the material world, Krishna never leaves that living entity's side. Krishna always accompanies that soul as the super soul. Even in the body of a bacterium, or a worm, a bird, an animal, a tree, a human being, a demigod, Krishna is always accompanying that living entity, waiting for that time when this living entity will turn towards him and become his devotee. Just like a parent whose child has become estranged for some reason is gone away in a huff for some reason, the parent just waits patiently. The day will come when this child will return. The prodigal son, yes, who comes back. So in this way, Krishna is waiting for all of us to come back to him. And when you look at him, see, he's standing there on the altar playing the flute, patiently waiting. We are saying, wait Krishna, give us some more time. Alright, take your time. He never gets impatient. He never gets frustrated with us. He never rejects us. I've told you so many times, you're not listening to me, so I have nothing to do with you anymore. I'm tired of telling you again and again. He never says that. Alright, I still love you as much. So here I'm waiting for you, whenever you want, whenever the time is right. So Krishna is playing his flute, patiently waiting for us to turn to him. So when you look at Krishna on the altar, you can think of him in different ways, and one of the ways is to see his extraordinary patience and his mercy. He's just waiting, standing on the altar. But when the Sankirtan goes on, then he loses his patience. He jumps in and also participates. As he did in Ambika Kalna. And Gauridas Pandit and his followers were doing Kirtan, Sankirtan. And Gaurnitai deities, they got so absorbed that they jumped off the altar and came into the Kirtan. And they also started dancing. And Gauridas Pandit came and said, what's happened? Where are the deities gone? He ran after them with a stick. Hey, come back here. I've got the bhoga for you. You're supposed to be on the altar. How come you're there dancing with the devotees? So he went after them with a stick. And then they got afraid, seeing Gauridas Pandit coming. So and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially, then he immediately entered the heart of his devotee, of his disciple, of Gauridas Pandit's disciple, whose name was Chaitanya Das. And from then on, when Gauridas Pandit saw this, he was struck with wonder, so he renamed his disciple as Hriday Chaitanya Das, the servant of Chaitanya, into whose heart Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has entered. So when the Sankirtan movement goes on, then he becomes restless and he comes and joins and he said, look, I'll join you, I can't wait anymore. When I'm as Krishna playing the flute, I'm ever patient, but as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I lose my patience. I come and I want to deliver everyone very soon. I'm impatient. I want everyone, especially London, he says. I want especially London, all the residents of London, delivered to become pure devotees of Krishna. So that is how Krishna looks at all the living entities. Our true friend and well-wisher. Any other? Yes.
Maharaj said the Vishwasis really loved Krishna so much, but he left then to go to Mathura. So did he ever come back? He came back, didn't he? So, I mean, how did he live for so many years? The Vishwasis, right? They were really like in separation, especially the gopis.
Okay, why did Krishna leave Vrindavan?
How many years did he leave?
And how many years did he leave for? And did he come back? Now generally it is understood that he didn't come back, but Srila Jiva Goswami says that actually he did come back for a brief while. After killing of the demon Dantavakra, Krishna briefly came back to Vrindavan and saw all the residents of Vrindavan. But why did he leave? He left because he had to perform his other pastimes in Mathura and in Dwarka. And the time had arrived for that. Mathura Leela, Dwarka Leela had to happen. Kurukshetra Leela, Bhagavad Gita had to happen. Krishna had descended to the earth to perform many purposes, to fulfill many purposes. So he had to do that. So he had to leave Vrindavan physically from the external point of view. he left Vrindavan to go to Mathura. Another reason for his leaving Vrindavan was that he had attained the age at which he eternally remains in Goloka Vrindavan, which is Kaishora, the age of adolescence or pre-youth. The third reason is that he wanted to increase the love of the Brajabasis for him by separation. So that separation from Krishna would be like a fire that would burn down whatever atomic fragments of material contamination that was there in the hearts of those devotees who had joined the eternal associates of Krishna coming from Golok Vrindavan. And these participants had come up through many lifetimes of devotional service in the material world, and they had joined the eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. So they were not 100% pure yet. They were maybe 99.9999%. So that little small little thing had to be done. So by putting them in the fire of separation, he purified them also. He wanted to increase their love for Krishna. And also he wanted to declare to the whole world the glory of the love of the Brajabasis for Krishna. It is because Krishna left Vrindavan that today we understand the glory of the Brajabasis' love for him. So the glory of the love is seen in their separation, feeling of separation from Krishna.
So every living entity would have to go through that sort of process?
Yes. So when you become a pure devotee, then you will not go straight back to Goloka Vrindavan. You will go to a Vrindavan which is same as Golok Vrindavan, but which is manifested on this earth planet or somewhere in the universe. You will go there, participate in that, and be trained out by the eternal associates of Krishna who come from Goloka Vrindavan. Just as imagine there's a drama troupe. There are the regulars who have been doing it for many, many years. They know the lines, they know the cards, they know everything about the drama. And there are some newcomers who come in and they're good, but they have to be fine-tuned a little bit. So the more experienced artists, they will train them up a little bit. So when we become pure devotees, then our next birth will be in a spiritual body in Vrindavan that is manifested in the material world. And along with others like us who may have come up, then the eternal associates are there as well. Then we will be trained up under them. Whatever 0.0000001% of some contamination remaining, that will also go away. And then we will be fully qualified to go back to Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual world. Right? How many of you want to be there? It's a good place to be. Any other questions? Yes.
You said that Krishna as Paramatma lives in the elephant, in the amoeba, in the tree. But only in the human form we get the opportunity of going back to Godhead. None of the other living beings get a chance to go back.
Okay, your question is that Krishna is in the heart of all the living entities, including the amoeba, the elephant. But is it only in the body of a human being that we can get the chance to go back to Godhead? Generally, yes. Because it is only in the human form of life that we can understand all these things. We can understand who is God, who am I. We can actually voluntarily take to the process. However, there are exceptional circumstances where even an entity in a lower species of life may attain perfection by the mercy of the Lord or his pure devotees. There are instances of when Mahaprabhu sent a dog back to Goloka Vrindavan, or he sent 7 palm trees back to Vrindavan. So there may be exceptional cases like that. But certainly, when we chant Hare Krishna, we spread the Krishna consciousness movement everywhere. It is not only the humans that benefit. It is even the plants, the trees, the insects, the germs, the bacteria in our body. We have so many millions of bacteria inside our body. They all get delivered. They all get purified. Who knows what these bacteria in our body will be in the next life? They may get a devotee's body also, who knows? These plants that are outside, trees, so they will also get the benefit. But generally, when it comes to a question of going back to Godhead, it will be from the human form of life. Okay? Hare Krishna. So, my heartfelt thanks to Ramcharan Prabhu and Bhagavati Mataji and Vrinda Sundari Mataji also for having hosted us this evening and given us such a nice cozy atmosphere in which we could hear and chant about Krishna. And I want to thank all of you as well for having come this evening and patiently having heard this lecture and asking nice questions. And we'll have some kirtan now. Yes? Or any other plan?
No, we can have
Kirtan, okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I resolved we would end a little early today. We have the karta. Okay, someone can chant. I can play. Yes. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare श्री गौरांग महाप्रभु की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरे कृष्णा।